Serve me drive.
All right. Okay. Do you want me to wait for you a few more minutes?
Yeah. There's somebody drove up out there just a minute ago.
Coffee, you want? What's up, sir? Here.
Things. There's Roger.
Hi. Morning, Roger.
Hi. I'm sure you're about ready for decision then. Morning, Roger.
Morning.
How you doing there, young
How
lady?
are you? Good talk. I've seen you guys for a while.
How you doing? Good, how are you? Well, scared of you, Jim. Come sit up.
What's that?
They're all scared of you. Come sit.
Yeah?
Yeah. Bad reputation. Yeah, right.
You're probably just accurate or something.
Morning, Jim. Good morning. How are you? I'm doing great. All right.
A great day for survey.
Everyone. Okay, well, being 8 o'clock, let's get started. We are fortunate to have with us today Dan Britton, who is the manager of IGU, president. I don't know, what's your title, Dan?
General manager.
General manager of
Yeah.
IGU.
Sure.
We asked Dan to give us an update on all things IGU, so Dan, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Appreciate being here this morning. And before I get started, let me just introduce Michelle Hollowell. She's our customer crusader, as Gary likes to call her. She's
Nice.
here to help all things customers, acquisitions, customer service, etc. We've got David Prusak with us this morning too, who is our project manager for the Heart of Fairbanks, our large storage project. So if there's questions I can't answer, hopefully they can. So thanks for having me. I'll give you just a highlight of a couple of the major projects we're working on this morning and some of the things we got, other things we got coming forward for us in 2019, and some of the major things we're working on. And hopefully those that have driven around Fairbanks get to see on a regular basis the one major project we're working on, which is our large storage facility down off of the end of Pega Road, just south of Van Horn. This in the front there, you can see a shot of the tank, but we'll get a couple other pictures here. Which one takes me forward? Is it the mouse? Which one goes forward? You know, John?
How about that arrow over
We'll
there?
try the arrow.
Right there, right there.
There.
Let me try that. Yeah.
So just as a reminder, the Interior Energy Project and the Interior Gas Utility, our purpose is to bring low-cost energy to as many residents and businesses of Interior Alaska as possible, as quickly as possible. What we're trying to do is stabilize our economy and help improve the air quality. One of the first things we need to do is make sure that we have security of supply and enough storage capacities here in Fairbanks to be able to serve additional growth through added customers. And in order to do that, we have started to construct our large storage project in Fairbanks, and we are actively engineering our storage facility in North Pole. The large storage project in Fairbanks is a 5.25 million gallon tank. I've spoken to many of you about this already, but you'll get an update this morning where we're at. It's double walled, double containment design. What that means is if the inner tank, which is holding the LNG, fails for some reason, the outer tank is designed to contain the volume of the inner tank. So in the LNG world, it's the contractor on December 22nd. We were working in January. Everything's advancing on schedule, and we have a target completion of fall of 2019.
That looks like a fueling station. Is that what that is?
Right there, the tank
What
is
is
in
it?
the background.
Yeah.
What you see is the support system for our vaporizers. So
Oh, okay.
right there, the vaporizer, there's a keyhole
Mhm.
in the top of that platform, and there's 3 vaporizers that are being installed. Those 3 vaporizers each have 50% capacity of our ultimate. So we have, we'll start out just using 1 vaporizer. As we grow, we'll be using 2, and we always have a 3rd one redundant. These concrete walls have created a fire situation. If we do an isolated incident, it doesn't happen. To vaporize. So this is installed ready for those vaporizers to be delivered. We expect those to arrive in late January.
Mid or early?
Early January. So
Next week or two.
Yes.
the owner has ordered all of the key equipment, long lead time equipment, so it'll be for the contractor to finish the installation. The other piece you see there is the grading that's heading away from us towards the tank. That's where all the piping is going to go. All of our piping is going to go below ground in a concrete trench. That concrete trench also acts as spill containment and will also take any spills to our secondaries. Yep.
You can see, one of the items that's still a concern, I'm saying to the IG board, is these it will show up on time every time.
Yeah, sure. So the design philosophy with this facility, although it is a single tank, the tank itself being the double wall, double containment, is extremely reliable. Within the tank, we have LNG pumps. We don't have any penetrations below the liquid level. So there's 0 penetrations in the tank below the liquid level. And so the pumps, we have pump columns that are in the tank that we put our submerged pumps into the LNG, which will pump the LNG up and over. We have 300% pump columns, 300% pumps. So we have full redundancy in our pumps, not only a single but double redundancy in our pumps. So if we have to pull one for maintenance, we still have pump in service and a pump as redundant. We do pull those pumps out of those columns and then can maintain them. We just spoke about the vaporizers. The vaporizers take the liquid and warm it, turn it to gas. That's where the gas gets sent out into our system. And in this design, we have 3 50% units, so we always have vaporizers. Our boil-off gas compressors, the tank, as it sits, the LNG warm, have boil-off gas, have to split so that the tank doesn't overpressure. And we don't want to vent that gas. We want that gas, compress that gas and send it out into the system. And in our boil-off gas compression, we have 300% units in that as well. Our LNG offloading facility that we've designed, it has capabilities not only to load the tank, but also to take LNG out of the tank in the event we need to send LNG to North Pole. This large tank is going to be the big security supply for the entire system. And we also have the capability of sending liquids straight from the trailers to the vaporizers. So for some reason we had to isolate the LNG from the tanks, we could isolate it and then schedule deliveries where we would continue delivering to the vapor. The last piece is we do have a second storage and vaporization facility in Fairbanks that will remain operational. And so if for some reason we had a disruption at this facility, we would have supply from the other facility, although somewhat limited. And then we'll talk about the North Pole facility as well, which ultimately, when the 2 systems are connected, will will be considered additional redundancy within the total system. Right now, we have the schedule, the design of the schedule was for the outer tank to be completed in the summer construction season, the dome roof to be placed. We are now 1 week few days ahead of schedule. About a month ago, we were about a week behind schedule. So right now we're back on schedule, and before the crews will break for Christmas on December 20th, 21st, and before they leave, there will be a week ahead of schedule with their work. And so what they're doing now is the outer tank has become our shop. They can work all winter long. They have heat inside the tank. 2 large electric heaters are providing enough heat. The tank generally has been staying about 50, 55 degrees, which is perfectly comfortable for the activities that are going on, a lot of preheating and welding. So the inner tank you see here now is the rows of steel, and this is 9% nickel steel. This is the low temp alloy that'll can withstand the cryogenic temperatures. This is the component of the tank that is containing the liquid. And by the time they leave on Friday, you can see 3 rows of steel up here that will be on their 5th row. The 5th row will be placed. I'm not sure if it will be fully welded out before they leave. Not quite fully welded out, but it'll be in place and tacked and partially welded. They've got some catch-up work to do on their testing. It's the X-ray technicians are having a hard time keeping up with the welders. So each one of these welds is 100% X-ray in this tank. So there's a significant amount of quality control and quality assurance that goes into this installation as well. So the welders who work all day will have X-ray technicians that work all night type of thing. So they'll read and study the X-rays, and anything that has to be corrected gets done in the following day or days before they move on. You can see they do actually have a crane inside the tank as it's working. What allows them to do the work right now is a temporary construction opening that at the end of when the inner tank is built gets closed. And then that's the final step of the tank construction, and when we close the TCO, the temporary construction opening. This crane is designed that the skids move in and out, so they'll come in, drive right out of the tank. Any questions on this? Yep.
So I assume that this is like the first layer or level of steel, and that you're then going to do another level of.
This is the first. That's the first 3 levels. Yep. And now they're working on the 5th level.
Wow.
Yep. And what's the top bit?
Oh, this is the first 3 here?
9.
Oh, I see.
And the suspended ceiling is already in the tank. The ceiling is already complete. It gets set at the end. It was picked with the dome roof. So it was built outside of the tank. Part of when we place the dome roof in place is the suspended ceiling for this tank. A lot of the platforms and the stairways get constructed at the tank contractor shop. They're starting to arrive with stairs now, or some of them are here, so that they'll be starting to be put in place as temperatures allow. As part of the construction as well, we're upgrading all of the facilities here. This is our multi-purpose building. Within it will be all of our boilers that provide the heat to the vaporizers, our control room, our instrument air, our nitrogen systems. To start out with, we're putting 4 boilers, so we'll have full redundancy again in our boiler capacity. If we lose a boiler, we have full capacity still. Ultimately, we have enough space in this building for our full build-out, which we would have 7 boilers installed at that time.
Are they natural gas?
They're natural gas boilers, high-efficiency condensing units, so we use the highest efficiency possible units we can get. And they're at 95%. So they'll send warm glycol to the vaporizers. That warm glycol gets circulated back and is reheated. In addition to the heat for the vaporizers, we do also, under the trenches, we have heating so that we can keep snow and ice outside. One of the code requirements for spill containment is that it can be snow and ice free. So in addition to the Fairbanks storage facility, we're working on the North Pole storage in order to begin providing service to North Pole. The 2 systems aren't connected yet, so North Pole requires its own storage facility. In addition addition to needing the storage, we need that, feed from that direction of our system to provide pressure support. So, we've been working with GVA to purchase a piece of land across from their, production facilities on H&H Lane. We have the option to purchase. We've completed all of our environmental reviews or our geotechnical reviews, and we'll be finalizing 95% design on this facility in the next week or two. And what we'll do is move 2 of our storage tanks that are currently in use in Tri Road, where we're building a large storage facility, and we'll relocate them here. We'll install 2 temporary tanks so that we can get this unit online prior to the end of January 2019. And then in the summer, we can move the storage tanks up once we've got the large tank filled and everything working correctly. We don't want to remove our facility that's in operation until we're 100% comfortable that we don't have any bugs in the larger system. We've got this will give you an idea of what this facility will look like. We'll also have the space available to, should Golden Valley decide we can add a larger storage tank. No, it's breaking up like that.
Special effects.
Computer's not keeping up. So you see similar components, the vaporizer skid in the front, the large tank, our tanks there are shop-built tanks. You can see the temporary tanks, it'll be ISO containers right in front of us there. And in the background, we've got our multi-purpose building for this facility. You can see the truck lane for where the trucks will come in and offload and exit.
Where does all that ocean out there come from?
I was wondering about
Yeah.
palm trees.
We've got to add that.
Yeah, no hell for a climber.
Yeah. So we'll be bringing this forward to the Interior Gas Utility Board for a final investment decision in early January. And as soon as we receive that decision, we will bid the work and look for construction in the spring and summer of 2019, with completion in the fall of 2019. So at that point, we'll begin to add customers in North Pole as well as the Fairbanks area. We've left space for the addition of 2 more of the 75,000-gallon tanks. That's what you see right there. And also space for a large field-directed, similar to Tri Road, but probably much smaller in the event Golden Valley, when they choose to use natural gas, wants to have additional storage capacity. If they use natural gas in their LM6000 turbine in North Pole, if they run it at full capacity, gallons. Generally, they're not at full capacity these days because they're using other units. But they would 1,000 gallons. So they may want to see a large storage capacity.
What's the ratio, standard ratio on storage, say for Golden Valley? What's that on that?
No, it's really customer driven. Golden Valley has alternatives. So their LNG truck, they could switch to a liquid fuel. So come down to preference. The more storage you generally will install. Given they have alternatives, not only particular unit, but also alternatives different for generation in their system. To not install.
Remind us then for the resident, the customer then based at this storage then
This storage is
translates to.
designed to be able to serve the full capacity. Have the ability to add additional boilers and vaporization capacity to be able to build out of. This is not designed to be able to the security of supply for the system. Security supply will come 5.5 gallon tank. And so that in the beginning years, this 150,000 gallons for the 5 days of capacity. Over time, it'll be less than 5. Fine tank and Fairbanks. So, yeah, we've got the capacity necessary for security. Gary?
Found it helpful to, in regard to 120,000 gallons a day, compare that with what we're using right now. What are we using right now?
It's about double what we use right now, over double what we use right now. So on a peak day right now, we're around 50,000 gallons. Yeah.
Compare that.
Can I ask him about the phones? Thanks.
Any questions on our North Pole facility? Just a few shots of the inside of what the boiler rooms are likely to look like. These will be multiple boilers. Again, the full 95% efficiency. Same security of supply in our vaporization here. We've got multiple boilers and multiple vaporizers so that we can maintain we need to maintain that gas delivery of this.
I got a question on the North Pole facility. Will it be filled off the 5 million gallon tank in town? Will it be independent? It sounds like a long range. Long range, so would that entail a line between?
So the general operation will be for LNG to be delivered directly to the North Pole. Won't do any storage facility deliveries. The only reason we do that is if we had a disruption in supply where we couldn't get LNG from Mackenzie to Fairbanks for some reason, we would then transport from large storage tank to. Generally, we would just deliver LNG as we have, which is the thing we do. That's backup. Usually it would just receive the delivery. Ultimately, the two systems will be connected by pipe. Each one of these storage facilities will be at some point. Yeah, everything outside of the storage facilities, once it leaves the storage facilities, we become a conventional gas utility at that point. We need to store and vaporize the LNG. At that point, it goes into our piping network and molecules.
Vaporizers at the 5 points.
Yes, there's full vaporization at each one of those vaporizers is 24 million feet. Our current data to put that 60,000 gallons effective is 5 million. We fill full growth capacity into this.
Won't be able to turn on. We'll have those customers clear and shift all the tanks and things.
So we're going to put in temporary iso containers as part of the North Pole storage facility so that we can put the North Pole system behind part of it. So it'll be in full commercial operation and just be waiting for the final. Okay. So those are the two major projects we're working on right now with regards to storage. In addition to the storage requirement on the LNG side, this is the supply side to get the LNG to us. But talk a little bit about what that means as it relates to customers. And everybody wants to know, okay, that's great. What does that mean for this? So the FNG, the large storage facility, that's being constructed. It in itself, without any additional liquefaction capacity, allows us to add about 1,000 MCF of sales here. That's kind of our current sales. We currently sell about 100,000 MCF. That means in customer numbers, it depends on customers. Residential customers, it's about 2,600 residential customers. But in a mix between residential and commercial, we anticipate it's about 50.
Oh, okay.
Just with the addition of the storage. So the reason that works is that the liquefaction facility can produce 365 days a year, but in the summertime, in the off-peak right now, we have no place to put the LNG, so we have to shut it down. With having the storage capacity, we'll continue to run that facility, we'll deliver the LNG to Fairbanks, we'll store it, and it'll be ready for use in our peak. So it helps us to manage our seasonal swing. So we'll use the storage to be able to add the supply necessary to meet the additional peak in the winter. We'll draw down the storage in the winter, and then we'll refill it in the summer. So it's a crucial step for us to be at customers. So we definitively know that in 2020, we're beginning to add customers. For sure in Fairbanks, given that tank is being constructed and subject to the board final investment decision, the target would be to also beginning adding customers in the North Pole in that same time frame.
But we aren't finishing the tank in time to, are we finishing the tank in time to fill in the summer of 2019?
No.
That's what I was thinking, fall or something.
The tank will be completed in the fall of 2019. Yep.
Thank you.
So for customers to get on our system, we hear a lot of questions on what does it take. Generally, the utility funds the first 100 feet of the service line or subsidizes heavily the first 100 feet of the service line. For $50, customer pays us for a service line installation. We'll install the service line from the main to the home and install the meter, and the customer is responsible for the piping downstream of the meter. There is a fee for excess flow valve, which is $175. About 2 years ago, the DOT, PHMSA, Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Group, mandated that these be installed in every service line in natural gas systems, any new service line or modified. What it does is if there's a break in the service line downstream of excess flow valve, it will stop the flow of gas and protect the property and the home from a gas leak. So these now, we have to install these in any new service or residential or commercial service. Now it was first just if somebody's service line is longer than 100, charge to the customer for that additional footage.
You do know he's downstairs, right?
Excuse me, whoever's on the phone, could you please mute your phone, please?
So the contractor would do the work from the meter into the home, install the appliance that the customer was installing, boilers, stoves, hot water heaters, barbecues, whatever the customer, gas dryers. And then there'll be a requirement for an inspection. Within the city, there's a city inspection that's required for the gas installation outside of the city. Any questions on what it would take to get service? And Michelle will be happy to help anybody that would like to walk through that when it's time. We are working on ways to improve the cost. We just drafting a support letter for the borough is requesting the Solid Fuels Exchange Program funding from EPA, and qualifiers for that is natural gas, and they're looking at giving natural gas a preference on the selection for that. So we're currently working on a support letter for that week. And so anything we can do to access funds for a cost-effective customer. Yeah. This is a reminder what the coverage areas are. It's probably been a while since we talked about this, but we've got a substantial amount of pipe built out in the Fairbanks area and North Pole. This was what was historically the Fairbanks natural gas service territory. I'll be part of the combined area gas utility. The colored lines represent different sizes of pipes, but as you can see, we've got a substantial coverage now in the Fairbanks area. Total of approximately 140 miles of mainline piping. Our system was at about 70 miles for many years, and then in 2014-15, part of our energy plan, we installed an additional 70 miles of pipe in advance of storage and the liquefaction expansions for additional customers. A lot of the denser neighborhoods are covered now: Shannon Park, University West, Taku area, Aurora. So we have pipe waiting for customers. Any questions on that, Matt?
Your color code again?
The size of pipe.
Size of
And
pipe.
yellow is available, but
This size of pipe, 2-inch pipe, is the yellow. But primarily residential's in those areas, yeah. Red line's 8-inch, blue line 6-inch.
6, and blue is okay.
and black.
Blacks are street names.
Oh, okay.
Similarly, in North Pole, the interior gas utility in 2015 installed approximately 70 miles, a little more than 70 miles, in phase 1 of the North Pole system, and they had broken it down into 3 zones and had multiple contractors doing the work in that year. David was responsible for that project as well. So we have about 70 miles there of main line that's in place, and as soon as the North Pole storage is completed, we'll gasify that system, and at that point, customers can be added anywhere in the first phase of the construction.
Anywhere, how far from those lines? Just 100 feet?
Generally, if there's a main line in front of a home or a business, whether it's 100 feet or whether it's 200 feet or 300 feet away, we can install a service. Most homes will be within that 100 generally, but there's some that are larger properties that have longer service lines. There's no set restriction from distance from the main line. You require a 500-foot service line. That's the size of the service line accordingly. Okay.
Help us locate on that. Point out on that map for us where a landmark that we would understand. Where's the intersection, Safeway intersection on there?
David, help me out. This is the H&H Road where the storage facility is.
Right here is the Safeway.
Oh.
Okay.
Right there, this is Hearst Road, on the very top is the northern border. And then Safeway's right there, Badger Road's coming underneath the Richardson right
And
there.
where's H&H where the storage facility is? Right here.
Right here, that's the power plant, is that little square.
Oh, okay.
Where's the city of North Pole there?
Right where Safeway is.
Right
I
in
mean,
here.
essentially where the
This area here.
So it's all in Zone A,
City.
the city is.
Any questions on the service areas or?
Does a service line, is the maximum capacity for those just basically a single residence or?
No, the service lines, we can size them to what the capacity needs are. Most are generally will install one service line per residential home. A 3/4 inch service line, which is our standard size, has more capacity than a single system. Will run at 60 psi, and at the home we drop the pressure from 60 down to 7 inches water column, which is about half a psi. Or in certain circumstances, customers can also get 2 psi. If you're doing a building or a home that requires extended pipe system within the building or the home, you can go to a higher pressure delivery, 2 psi, and that allows you to reduce the size of your pipe within the building. And then at the appliance, you then install a regulator that takes it from 2 psi, 7 inches. So each installation requires just a quick look at what's more economic. Where do you save more money? You save more money on reducing your pipe size and adding a couple of regulators, or is it just a small amount of pipe and you save the cost of the regulator? So as a utility, we provide the option for 7 inches or 2 psi. So we've got a substantial volume of gas in the 60 psi, and we're dropping down to the lower delivery pressure. That answer your question?
Yeah. But basically, if there's a street with, say, a cul-de-sac, 4 homes, can't run a single service line to 8 homes.
No, we run a service line to each home. Yeah. We do on occasion run a service header, which is there's a single property with multiple buildings on it. We'll run a service header that goes around the property and drops smaller service lines, shorter service lines off of it. Down the street, there is a main line that's in the street in front of them. And what's next thing to go on. You'll see in any of our presentations now, one of extreme importance to us is the security of our avoid damage. So a reminder, if you're doing any work in your yard or as your contractor, please call 811 before you dig. We provide free locate services anywhere in our system. We locate services in addition to some utilities. So what's next? And one of the prime things that's next for us is a decision on the liquefaction expansion. Next, storage allows us to add customers, but in order to continue our growth and continue our demand expansion, we need additional liquefaction capacity from somewhere. 2 alternatives being considered right now by the board one is for a utility developed project, expanding our existing facility. In Point McKenzie, we have a liquefaction plant that produces approximately 50,000 gallons a day now. Have over the years looked at expanding that facility. So initially we were looking at adding 100,000 gallon a day liquefier to that plant, and now the board wants security of supply. That's what we're trying to find the sweet spot right now. Our single largest unit, it would not create a supply. So we're looking at those. What's the best approach? Once that decision is made, which is hopefully within the next month, we will move forward with the front-end design for that expansion so we can finalize our budget and visit for investment. Currently, we are in discussions to come forward. It's been quite some time now, over a year ago, with the side LNG Superior Gas Utility through a long-term LNG supply contract. And what they're looking at, calling LNG along the highway, along the Parks Highway in Houston on some land owned by the corporation, and that we would just simply purchase liquid by natural gas from them. We're analyzing what that means. Is it beneficial for the utility to do that? Is it
All right.
I'm gonna find you muted person or unmuted person. Carry on, sir.
That's okay. So we're in detailed discussions with Siemens now. We've sent forward a proposed term sheet. We're looking at the key necessary contractual commitments and the risk balance to determine whether it's a good choice, whether we're better off project. Siemens' approach relies on the rail to deliver LNG to Fairbanks, so rather than the LNG being delivered by truck, which we do today, it would primarily be delivered by rail, which has can be more cost effective, but it can have additional challenges as well. So the board will make that final decision sooner than later, and move forward with that piece of the supply. And once that's completed, we have where we're moving with additional liquefaction. We've got our storage well developed. We've got our distribution system well underway. And then the next will be just continued growth and continued additions to the distribution system as the economics allow, and to work hard to find ways to improve the economics of conversion for customers. And ultimately, we're building here is we sometimes can have a very short-sighted view of some of these projects. This structure will be here for 100. This is a 100-year infrastructure project for our community that will, these pipes that are in the ground will be the same pipes providing service to those homes 100 years from today. And so this project, the start that we have is, as David likes to say, you know, we have our daily challenges, but each day today, as we work on our project, is a great day for Fairbanks. And these are the first steps that we're taking. And we have a community-owned gas utility now. We can drive the direction of this utility that we want for our community. And we have opportunity to make it better. We have future opportunities for additional funding. We have opportunities such as Siemens to consider. We have the utility-owned facilities that we can expand upon. So we're in a very good position now as a utility. We've got fully integrated, and we can continue that approach, or we can look at ways to diversify if it makes sense. So it's exciting times for the interior gas utility. I would think soon we continue to work on the integration between IGU and FNG, but ultimately we're a single utility providing the same service to all customers. And that's the way we will be. So, questions?
Great. Questions? Conversion.
Yep.
Have to have a bunch of trained plumbers. Doesn't need to be a problem. That's supposed to be a question.
Yeah.
Because we want to convert as many and get as much gas used as possible.
Right. So we had a conversion group that was established to talk about the conversions and the timing and any challenges and things that need to be addressed. Michelle's going to be kicking that back off. We'll be communicating with the mechanical contractors more closely on what our timing and plans are and the potential number of customers, so that they can prepare with their training of their personnel. We have in the past facilitated specific training programs. We'll be working with the manufacturers of boilers on and the local supply houses on establishing conversion programs. So we'll be looking for them to incentivize as well as come in with packages and say, hey, we'll give you a rebate on these if you choose this unit, and make sure that the installers have the appropriate training for its components. So yes, training will be required. Ultimately, I think that, natural gas has been being used in Alaska, particularly in Anchorage, for 50 years. So there's a substantial contractor base that exists in the state. There's some contractors that both operate in Fairbanks and Anchorage, so you'll see them seize on the opportunity. So the contractors will see this as an opportunity, and when they see opportunity, they move fairly quickly.
Catherine?
Have to dig up the road to connect each service line.
Yeah, we dig up the main to connect each service line, so each connection will require an excavation. We do have different opportunities for installing the service line itself. We've got directional drilling. We can drill the service line in if we're going to disrupt somebody's driveway. We can drill under the driveway or the garden. We have hydraulic or pneumatic tools where we can pierce a hole under the ground, put the service line in. So we have different ways we can minimize disruption, but ultimately we do have to do some excavation. We'll repair the hole that we dig and patch any, if we have to remove asphalt, we'll patch that. We do try and coordinate with the city and the borough and DOT when large construction projects are going on in major roadways to minimize us coming in and digging up new roads. We coordinate as much as possible to get our pipe installed at that same time.
Yeah, Dan, what about those of us who will never get a line to our house? Is there a way to, any technology in place to use it like we do propane now?
Not effective technology in place to use it like propane. Compressed natural gas, which is used in vehicles and such, can be used in that circumstance, but it's stored at 3,600 psi. You have to have pretty large tanks because it's still compressed gas versus a liquid. So the better choice is still propane in that circumstance.
I just paid over $4.50 a gallon for a delivery.
Well,
I hope no one's trying to heat their homes with propane these days.
there's not a lot that
Crazy.
we're aware of, but there's a few that are out there, but not a lot. I think with as we continue to advance and add customers, and customers ultimately have some different choices, we'll see some energy cost pressure on other commodities as well. Whether the interior gas utility ever considers adding propane as a component of its supply offering, I don't know. We haven't had any recent discussions on that yet. We're pretty focused on completing our first steps first.
Yep.
We can have a tendency to try and do too much too quick and get in the way of getting anything done. So we're step by step here now, getting the phases completed necessary to begin a sizable expansion.
Just a curiosity question. What's the pipe material that gives you 100-year life?
High density polyethylene.
Okay.
So our system, and for an operator of a natural gas system, our buried piping system is a dream, because most gas systems that have been around historically have a combination of, actually a lot of them have a combination of cast iron, low pressure cast iron. They have steel, carbon steel, which all requires cathodic protection, rectifiers, anodes, they corrode. They've got a lot of welded joints. They've got a lot of mechanical fittings within their systems. So from a leakage survey and corrosion issue, our system's it's ideal. We don't have any buried steel in our system.
Wow, so it's 8-inch.
High density polyethylene, SDR11, so it's quite thick and it's very robust.
Cool.
There you go. Cool.
Oh, that's right, I remember that.
So that's a 2-inch, and that's two pieces that are put together by butt fusion. So the butt fusion you see there, and when we do the tests on the butt fusions, the pipe fails before the fusion fails.
Well, now that I held that pipe, this is real to me, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, it was real when we saw your storage facility here recently. So kind of want to have you take us back, and there's been some one-pagers on construction costs and then the components of the supply chain that translate into dollars per MCF, and then we come into the price to the community. Can you sort of trace through that supply chain? And now we're having the benefit of a project that's close. We still don't have I'm not sure where the gas supply is, which obviously is a big one, and if you would maybe speak to that, but just kind of bring us back to that high level.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Rick. Those are good things to talk about. So first, it all starts with the raw feedstock at the LNG plant, and our feedstock comes out of the Cook Inlet. We currently have a contract with the largest producer of natural gas in the Cook Inlet, which is Hilcorp. And so there's a couple of things that our gas price is $7.72 that we pay to Hilcorp. That we have a 3-year contract that takes us out into 2021. That contract allows us enough volume to do what we need on this tank, so we can run the plant 365 days a year and have the gas available through that contract to do that. Currently allows us with 18 months notice also to increase our daily volume from 5 million cubic feet a day to 15. So if the board was to decide that we were moving forward with the expansion, that contract has the gas available to us to do that. There's pluses and minuses to different gas suppliers in the Cook Inlet. Right now, our gas supplier is the largest that has the most robust system and the highest reliability available gas supply in the Cook Inlet. So from a reliability question, we're in the best position we could be in the Cook Inlet when you have a single producer. They have multiple wells, multiple locations in the inlet, multiple pipelines. They have their own storage, et cetera. So we have a really good, secure supply source from our producer. So once we get the gas, we have the liquefaction facility in Point McKenzie. We own and operate that facility. All of the employees there are ultimately IGU employees. We have a separate company called Titan, Alaska, that currently owns that asset, and that's where those employees work for. Titan provides all of the liquefaction and all of the transportation of the liquid to our customers. And those customers include Fairbanks right now, and we also serve the Talkeetna Lodge in Talkeetna. We've over the years served other customers, asphalt plants, provided LNG, telephone and power, and Toke, a few different other things. So in order to take the gas, the 772, we also pay a transportation fee to Instar to transport our gas. So our gas is transported on Instar's system, and it's about 30 cents that we pay Instar for MCF. And sometimes we transport our gas also on pipelines owned by Hilcorp, depending which field it comes from. So on average, the gas, by the time it gets to our facility in Fairbanks, about $8.50. Delivered into our plant gate. At that point, we liquefy the gas. In order to liquefy the gas, we consume a few primary things: labor, electricity, and gas in the liquefaction process. In our particular plant, we use about 7% of the gas that comes into the plant to run equipment in our process to liquefy. And so at the end of the day, when it's liquid and sitting at our plant gate, the cost of that liquid today with our current facilities and our current volumes is about $12.50. So we've got our gas that came in, we paid for electricity, we paid for the facilities through depreciation, all of our operations and maintenance, and all of our manpower. And then we deliver that gas to Fairbanks, and that costs about $2.50, a variable rate. We contract with third-party contractors to haul our trailers. So today the gas is arriving in Fairbanks around the $15 range, based on our current volumes. That's at 800,000 MCF a year. Now, you take the storage project and you take that from 800,000 MCF a year, and when you add another 400, you're up to about the 1.2, that cost structure changes. So instead of delivered at $15, we're now ultimately, we can get delivered at $13 to $14. And if our gas supply cost goes down a little bit, then it's down to $12. So we're spreading our manpower doesn't change, our fixed costs don't change. We're just spreading it over more volume. With the Titan facility, if we add another 100,000 gallon a day train, we don't add manpower, maybe one operator, and then moving 3 times the volume through the same fixed cost. Ultimately, what we're doing and what the growth and the customer additions is, we're looking at opportunities to step down our cost structure. All of the storage facilities, the distribution pipes, they all get spread over more volume. For volume, we can spread an asset over the less it costs on an incremental volumetric basis. Right now, today, the vaporization, the storage, etc., and delivery costs are around $5. So that's where our rates are today to our consumers, is about $20. And depending on the price of oil for quite a while, we were last number of months over 10% cheaper than oil. We saw a recent drop of oil prices again, so we're getting closer to parity in the short term. But in the long term, even under the private ownerships, and a customer that started on a gas system in 2000, over the years has saved over 10% in their energy costs with the swing oil gas. So the idea is that we continue to spread our fixed costs over more customers, look for opportunity to reduce cost components of our supply chain. So we do have opportunities there. We're seeing some easing of gas pricing in the Cook Inlet. Ultimately, I don't think we're going to see lower 48 gas prices ever in the Cook Inlet, but we're seeing some easing. It won't be $3, but it might be $6, it might be $6.50, which is a significant cost improvement to us. We save $1.50. We save it in feedstock, but then we also save it in our efficiency costs. So that $1.50 becomes $1.70 savings. So we have those key components. We've got our feedstock, the liquefaction, the transportation, the storage, and then the distribution. And each one of those components is can be a sizable component. Transporting truck versus rail. As we look at those opportunities over in the future, we might have an opportunity to save some incremental costs. Today, there's some challenges with it. We have to add a lot of ISO containers. Right now, when I send a trailer from our plant, that trailer is back in 16 to 20 hours. I send a container from our plant and it travels on the rail, I get it back in 36 to 48 hours or longer. It can be 3 days depending on the rail schedule. So you have to have more fixed assets to be able to provide the same volume. Additional, because you've got empties somewhere in the rail system. So your variable cost is less, your fixed costs are more. So it's a balance. And have them actually produce savings. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Other questions?
Gary.
Ben, in regard to the storage tax credit, you might talk a little bit about that. A year from now, the utility is going to come to FITCO and all of our elected leaders to support that tax credit. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the storage tax credits are still in existence within the state of Alaska. In order to qualify, a facility must be in commercial operation by January 1st of 2020. So the intent is for both of our facilities that are being constructed to qualify. And what the storage tax credit is 50% of the storage project up to $15 million. So for the Fairbanks storage project, our budget is in excess of $50 million. So the maximum storage tax credit we would potentially receive is $15 million in credit. The North Pole budget's gonna be $11.5 million range. And so we'll see about a $5.5 to $6 million potential credit for the North Pole, facility. So the commercial operation by 2020. The other key component is it has to be funded. So the legislature has to fund the payment of those credits. Otherwise, we will be in the same position as many of the producers are, in that they qualified for storage tax credits. However, the legislature hasn't funded the payment of those credits. So we could be in a situation if we don't have those credits funded, where we won't get the money, which is it's a sizable impact to us, or it could be. It equates to, depending again on volume and time, 70 cents per MCF to a consumer to $1.20 per MCF. The other key component is there's language around regulation, RCA regulation, and that the facilities have to provide service to third parties, which we are currently. You'll see a filing come out of both utilities and IGU, because they're still officially separate entities, or two individual entities, all owned by IGU, but still they have their own certificates within the RCA. To clarify our CPCNs, right now, under statute and the way the CPCNs were written, we're qualified, or we're certified to provide natural gas service through distribution pipelines. Doesn't talk about LNG storage, so we'll have filings to clarify that LNG storage is part of our certificate. Very clear through the regulatory record that LNG storage is part of our service. The RCA actually requires us to maintain 5 days of LNG storage as a condition of our certificate. So when I spoke with the commission, they felt like that was a clarification, probably should have been that way. But if you read the specific language of the storage tax credit, one could determine that our certificates don't qualify us. So we want to make sure that that can't be used against us. The other is we'll be looking for confirmation that although we're regulated by the commissions, we do have economic exemption because we're municipally owned, and we want to make sure that that doesn't somehow disqualify us from these credits. The intent of the credits, and I did go back and I have a letter from Representative Thompson, is that the intent was to make sure that the benefits of the credits flow through to consumers. And so that's why they had the regulated language in there. We are regulated. Our rates are governed by the IGU Board of Directors, and we will certify that any credits aren't included in rates. So we've got a few issues as it relates to those credits. They're important to us, and we're working hard to make sure we qualify for both time. We'll have a tariff that allows for third parties to sell capacity to third parties, and then I'm trying to get clarification on that regulatory issue. So probably maybe a longer answer than what people were, but it's important. We're going to look for support from everybody on those. It's a key component of the funding that was put in place.
And it's just a line item in the capital budget, so it'll just be a food fight, just like anything else. Being with a road in Sitka or a school in Anchorage, it's just a capital item, so it'll take all of us to get behind our elected leaders to make sure that money stays in place, because you can tell $1.20. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And
so we'll all be here next year thinking about getting it into the governor's budget and then getting it supported in the session a year from now. And we can support that capital budget item.
And the Anchorage constructed a natural gas storage facility in ground, not an LNG, but that's where the storage tax credits originated through the legislature, and that was completed and funded years ago. So they've received a similar benefit. They received the funding.
They refused it.
They received it.
received
The facilities were constructed in operation, received it, and their ratepayers benefited.
They haven't refused anything else.
No,
Just
they did not, they did not refuse it.
They cleaned the internal.
Yes.
Other questions before we go? Well, Dan, thank you. That was a great presentation. We couldn't agree more with you. This is a great project for Fairbanks. And, there is not one
John Riddick.
type of ground that will ever be dissatisfied with. So you guys, you and your team are doing a great job. And, it was a good presentation. This, by the way, is the last, will be the last Energy for All Alaska meeting before next year. And FEDC staff and the board would like to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a very successful 2019. And that goes for particularly for the IGU team.
Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully came across okay.
Good.
Starting to come together, yeah?
Every time we say this, it's really good.
I remember when, oh my God, we are,